I'm all in on the Avalanche ecosystem lately because it's dominating GameFi. Subnets are finally coming and liquid staking is here. And in this video, I'm going to dive into all of my strategies. What's up YouTube? Welcome back to my channel. I am Crypto with Nick and I am giga bullish the Avalanche ecosystem. We're going to dive into 3 different strategies that are changing the game and why I think Avalanche could see new all-time highs very soon. If we check out DeFi Llama, we can see that Avalanche is ranked number 4 in TVL at $11.8 billion, right under Binance Smart Chain. But my bet, in Q1, we're going to see Avalanche flip Binance Smart Chain to become the number 3 ecosystem. The first strategy we're going to cover is Benqi's announcement of liquid staking just today. And this is massive news because before, if you wanted to stake your Avalanche tokens, that made them completely illiquid and you weren't really left with a lot of options. To understand how Benqi does liquid staking, it's important to know that Avalanche is actually 3 different blockchains. The C chain, which is the EVM compatibility chain in DeFi, this is what most people know. There's the P chain, which helps coordinate the validator, and the X chain, which is the consensus mechanism. And for this, we're going to mainly focus on the C chain and the P chain. And if you're enjoying the video so far, go ahead and subscribe and hit that like button. It would mean the world to me. We're always going to cover the best DeFi strategies on this channel. So now let's quickly cover this awesome diagram that the Benqi team put together just so we can understand what's happening behind the scenes. So here we have the C chain. Remember, this is where you and I and everyone participates in DeFi. This is what we know. What we'll do is we'll give our Avalanche tokens to the Benqi team. And what they'll do is they'll take those Avalanche tokens and stake them on the P chain, right? Remember, the P chain is what coordinates the validators. And in return, what they'll do is they'll give you AVAX, right? Staked AVAX, which is going to be the interest-bearing version of that token. And with that AVAX, you can explore new opportunities with Benqi's partnerships or other applications to allow you to compound those DeFi strategies. All right, enough of the boring documentation. Let's bring up the Benqi application so we can kind of get a feel of what this actually looks like. Here we can see that the Benqi team actually almost supports $3 billion in assets. Benqi was actually one of the first applications to launch on Avalanche and receive Avalanche Rush rewards. It's a borrowing and lending money market. I love what this team is doing. They're always innovating. Let's check out this application here. If we come to the Earn tab, you can see here, this is where you can supply and borrow money. If we give an overview, we can see all the different token types they support. So if you deposit Avalanche here, you'll earn about 7%, which is pretty good. DAI 9%, and then even their native token Key, which is about 75%. But let's come over here to the liquid staking tab because this is what we're excited about today. We can see here that if we stake our Avalanche tokens, we're going to earn 7.2% APR. All right, I had to move myself out of the way so we could look at this dashboard. So now let's dive into it. We can see here that liquid staking right now is capped at 500,000 AVAX. Now this was just released today, and when they originally launched, this was actually only 250,000. So that filled up in just a few hours, and we can see here that they've already lifted that cap. Of that 500,000, we can see that 394,000 AVAX has already been staked, which is about $37 million on the platform. Now there's 2 rules to liquid staking that are super important if you dive into the strategy. This right here is the unstaking cooldown period. What this basically means that if you go ahead and stake your Avalanche token for AVAX, that you have to wait a minimum of 15 days before you'll be able to unstake your tokens. And when you decide to unstake your token, you're actually only given 2 days, 48 hours to redeem those tokens. And if you fail to redeem those tokens in 48 hours, your tokens are then restaked and all the timers reset. But I'm super bullish on this strategy. I actually had all of my Avalanche tokens on Aave and I had loans against them for probably about 4 or 5 months now. So I paid off all of those loans, unstaked my Avalanche tokens, and staked 100% of them on Benqi. But remember, the reason why this strategy is so powerful is because it's liquid staking, right? Even if you want to exit your position before the 15 days is up, you can do that because there's liquidity on apps like Trader Joe. We can see here that 1 Avalanche token equals 0.9980 staked AVAX, and this will be never 1-to-1 because staked AVAX is the interest-bearing asset. So if we come over here to Trader Joe, we can see that 1 AVAX is equal 0.996 staked AVAX, right? So even if you wanted to exit your position within that 15 days, right, it's not a problem. You can come here to Trader Joe, there's tons of liquidity, and you can exit anytime. So now let's talk about the next part of this strategy. You've taken your Avalanche tokens, you stake them on Benqi, and now you have the AVAX token. Let's come over here to the farm section. You check this out. Here we have an AVAX AVAX farm paying about 50% APR. This is wild. You could almost consider this a 0% and permanent loss, right? So this is basically single staked AVAX paying 50% APR. But I'll show you what I'm really excited for, and it's Benqi's announcement with Anchor protocol on the Terra Luna ecosystem. And if we dive into this article, we can see that through this collaboration, that Anchor protocol will exclusively use Benqi liquid staking token to allow you to earn additional yield by depositing on Anchor protocol. So my game plan is to take my Avalanche tokens, right, stake them on Benqi, and take my AVAX token, bridge them to Terra Luna, where I'll be able to put them up as collateral. It's not quite ready yet. It should be coming very shortly. And then what I'll do is I'll borrow UST against that. And if we come over here, we can then deposit that UST for 20% APY. And the reason why this is so powerful is because I'm giga bullish the Avalanche token, so I don't want to sell it. Right now, I'll be able to stake it, earn 7.2% APY, right? I'm betting on the Avalanche token appreciating, and then I'm accessing that capital by putting it up as collateral to borrow UST and earning another 20% on top of that. And this is where things get super interesting, because when you deposit UST, you're actually given a receipt token, AUST. And you can come over here to Mirror Finance, which probably deserves a video on its own. It's an amazing application. What it does is it lists synthetic assets, and you can use your AUST to short farm, or you can use it to put towards a delta neutral position to earn great yield here. All right, we're going to stop there because, like I said, Anchor and Mirror probably deserve their own video entirely, but just see the opportunities, and it all starts with liquid staking on Avalanche. Let's dive into the next section and talk about subnets. Let's dive into subnets because they are a game changer for the Avalanche ecosystem, and it's going to open up so many opportunities. We can see here that we have this thing, custom chain 1 and custom chain 2 under the P chain. These are actually what's considered subnet. So what is a subnet? Well, a subnet is basically a public or private blockchain that has full interoperability with the Avalanche ecosystem, and it can do things like pick all of its own custom rules. For example, it can pick what kind of consensus mechanism it wants to use. It can pick what kind of gas token it wants to use. And subnets is what's going to allow the Avalanche ecosystem to dominate GameFi. And if subnets seem confusing, it doesn't have to be. I actually wrote a whole Twitter thread on this about a month ago, but let's touch on a few points just so that we can understand it and why it's going to be such a big deal. See, computers, they're very chatty. They like to talk a lot. And when you put all the same computers on the network, right, it tends to slow things down and when it gets congested, right? We see this all the time with Ethereum. And so you probably have heard things like a new NFT project launches, right? There's this massive gas war and all you're trying to do is send some money to a friend and all of a sudden gas is like $200. But what if we now take those computers that don't really need to talk to other computers and kind of just put a little wedge between them, right, and divide them up? So what we can do is we can take a game and put it on its own subnet, or an NFT marketplace and put it on its own subnet. And what this means is when you have 100 people in there or 1,000 people in there, like spamming, trying to mint a new NFT and it's causing the network to get congested, that wouldn't happen anymore. That would stay isolated within the subnet. However, it still is going to connect to the Avalanche ecosystem and have full interoperability across all of it. All right, I don't want to bore you with all the technical stuff, so let's get back to the fun stuff. There's 2 games poised to launch as Avalanche subnets in the very near future. The Avalanche conference is coming up soon, and I expect we're going to see some announcements then. See, DeFi Kingdoms actually started on the Harmony 1 blockchain, and they have a world of Surrendale, and they are expanding their world to Avalanche with a new realm called Crystal Vale. And you can see here, the reason why they chose Avalanche was near instant transaction, low fees, and over 4,500 transactions per second, which makes it, again, perfect for gaming. Because if you've ever played a play to earn game or a GameFi game, right, you know that there's tons of transactions in there. And if you're spending all this time, like let's say on Ethereum, waiting for something to be confirmed, or you have to spend anything more than like a few cents, right, that could become very expensive alone than to just play the game. Now, the in-game token of this project, Jewel, has been an absolute monster. It ran up from $2 all the way to about $20, and I think it sits around $8 nowadays. But with this new catalyst coming up, I expect the Jewel to be on the move again, so I'll be looking forward to that. All right, now let's talk about another project that I'm super excited for that is supposed to get its own subnet soon, which is Crabada. The game has gained massive attention. It's a really fun game. Basically what you do is you have these 3v3 teams and you go ahead and try to find treasure or loot it against other players, right? I'd love to make a video diving into the mechanics of this game, but know that each of these crabs here are an NFT. And if we come here to NFTs by ranking, we can see that they're number 9, right? up there with big collections like Axie Infinity, Mutant Ape Yacht Club, CryptoPunks, Azuki. And if we look at all of Avalanche's transactions, we can see that Crabada accounted for 12% of the gas when we looked at a 1 hour view. That's insane. And that's what I'm talking about when it comes to subnets, right? We can take this amazing game and put it on its subnet so that way it can thrive in its own ecosystem and never impact the rest of the Avalanche network. And I'm super bullish on GameFi, so I picked up Jewel, the native token for DeFi Kingdoms, and I've also picked up some CRA here. If we come back to Trader Joe, I'm actually in this position here of CRA and AVAX, which earns me about 90 to 100% APR. I've then taken my tokens, I put them on beefy finance to generate more yield. And if you've been looking to get into GameFi, focus on the Avalanche ecosystem. There's so many opportunities here, even more than DeFi Kingdoms and Crabada. I mean, there's another really popular project called Dragon Crypto, and this coin has been ripping. I mean, check this out. What is this? $5 from the beginning of January to $140 now. Like, this is insane, and GameFi is exploding on Avalanche. We covered so much in this video, everything from liquid staking to subnets and GameFi. Let's recap and bring it all together on some of the strategies that I'm using. I've first taken all of my Avalanche tokens and I've staked them for AVAX tokens, and I'm earning 7.2% on those tokens right now. I'm then going to take my Avalanche tokens, split them up, and farm here on Trader Joe for 50% APR. And then when it's available, which I expect very soon, I'm going to take my AVAX tokens, bring them to the Terra Luna ecosystem, and put them up on Anchor as collateral. I'm then going to borrow UST against it and deposit it on Anchor protocol, earning 20%. When it comes to GameFi, I'm really focused on Crabada, and I'm in this pool here for CRA and AVAX, which is earning about 90% APR. I've then taken those liquidity tokens though, I've brought them over here to Beefy Finance where I can earn 150% APY. And in the near future, I'll be looking out for DeFi Kingdoms launching Crystal Veil as an Avalanche subnet, and they're going to have 4-figure APR farming opportunities, and I'll be diving headfirst into those. Before we end the video, let's check out this chart on AVAX. We can see here it took a little bit of a tumble, right? The market wasn't doing so well since the beginning of 2022, but since the late January, it's really turned itself around, going from $60 all the way up to $94 today. If you have any questions from the video, go ahead, shoot me a message on Twitter or come join the Discord. Links are below. Of course, it's free. We would love to have you. We're always sharing ideas and strategies up across all these different ecosystems. But cheers and happy farming.